Hey everybody, this is my 20-gallon open-topped office tank, and tonight we're going to do a before and after video. I'm going to get in there and do a water change and some basic tank maintenance. So we're going to have a look at the tank as it is now. Water level's getting low. I've already topped it off probably twice since the last water change, maybe 3 times. It's definitely due for a water change. I will be testing the nitrates in this tank, as I always do. Whenever I do a water change on this tank, I've been trying to keep track of the nitrates in regards to this German blue ram and how sensitive they are to nitrates, and whether they get above 40 parts per million and all that kind of stuff. So tonight I fully expect it to be well within the red. It's been quite a while since I've done a water change. I've had a lot of stuff going on downstairs, and that's been kind of sucking up all the oxygen in my brain when it comes to my fish tanks. And so tonight we're probably going to see a red vial when I do my nitrate test. So the other things I've got going on in there, you can probably see that big pile of white stuff. That is a bunch of eggshells I put in. I have been adding some flourish for the trace nutrients, but I don't think that the trace nutrients are what I'm lacking in my water for my temple plant here. I think it's the calcium and the magnesium. So eggshells will add calcium and magnesium, just not very much. But I do have to say, as bad as this looks, it does look like it's getting better, believe it or not. So I'm not sure if it's the addition of the flourish or if it is the addition of more eggshells in there, but the flourish is definitely having an impact. I did have the air stone right underneath here, so it was bubbling up where the water's flowing in, and if you see all this, it's really just sort of crusty stuff on there, and that's got to be residue left over from where the little, whenever you've got an air stone, you can see how wet this is, and if I pulled that stone out or turned that off, when all this dries up, I bet I would have residue like that left over behind. And I never had that before. That's only started showing up recently, and I can only assume that is from putting that flourish in there. I've never put anything else in the tank, and so now I'm suddenly get that. It's got to be from what I'm putting in minerals for the plants. So hopefully that's not going to have an impact on the fish. Again, I'm really worried about that German blue ram being really sensitive to dissolved solids in the water or anything else. So don't know how that's going to work out, but so far so good. It still looks fantastic. Its color's great, its behavior's normal, and I'm not concerned about it in any way. The other thing I'm thinking about doing is getting in here and trimming back some of this Java fern, this Java Windelov. I do have some temple plant, can't think of what this stuff's called now, Creeping Jenny. This is just thrown in there I had from before, and I just threw it in there, so I don't know whether that's going to stay in this tank or not, but we'll get rid of that in a minute. This is what I'm trying to get out. The last time I was in here, I pulled this chunk of roots out and just threw it back in the tank, and look, you can already see I've got new growth coming off of that piece of temple plant that I cut off of that chunk, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. Whenever the last time I did a video on this was, I actually cut this piece off, and then I just threw it back in the tank and sort of forgot about it, and now I've got that much growth on that. And this is the other chunk that I just sort of threw the roots back in, and I'm waiting to see if we actually get any growth or development on this end. So this end is not in the tank, but the end of the roots still are. So we'll see how that goes just by leaving that hang there like that. So I don't know if I'm going to leave it like that or not. It'll be fun just to see what happens with it. But as far as the actual tank is concerned, I really think I need to get in there and thin back some of these Java Windelov. It's got those sort of fingery tips on there. That's what I mean when I say Java Windelov. That's got the different look to it than the regular Java fern, but it is just Java fern, and it's growing like crazy, so I might get in there and thin a little bit of that out. So there you go. We're going to call that your before, and there's your after. So I did indeed get in there and remove a lot of that Java Windelov. I actually removed a fairly good sized chunk from where you can see the ram at the bottom. It was all the way forward and touching the glass, and it was really restricting the flow of water through the tank. And when I got in there and started trying to break chunks of it off, it was more or less lifting up the little faux cave I've got in the back there, that little plastic cave, and the roots are all through it, and the rhizomes have grown everywhere. And so I was able to break some of that loose, but it still really is kind of in and through that little cave. And that is where the little clown pleco that's in this tank spends most of his time. So when I got down to this end, the entire chunk of fern came up in one big piece. It was all rooted to, it had picked up a big pile of gravel, and it came up with just a big chunk of gravel. I am going to move that air stone. I didn't realize it was sitting directly under the heater like that. I don't know if that affects the heater or not, but I will be moving that. So don't think that's actually how I've got it set up for any particular reason. I just now am noticing that it's sitting there like that. But back to the fern, I did pull that out. I pulled the whole entire chunk out, and I wound up just breaking one chunk of rhizome off and sort of tucking it back into the gravel so it would reestablish and start growing again. The temple plant is in there pretty firmly. I mean, I gave that some pretty good, banging around. So, I mean, that's in there pretty solid. I'm not too worried about that. This piece I've just got, this is what we were looking at before. So I've just got that kind of hooked over there and hanging on that so that it allows the roots to stay in the water. And likewise with this piece, I've got that just kind of propped up there so the roots stay in the water. I did pull the filter intake off. It was not this end that was so much clogged as the end where the impeller is. Just gunk and mulm and stuff builds up in there. Just growth and stuff develops over time in any filter. Let me move this out of the way while I'm standing here because that's really annoying me. Just bring it down here. So I think that'll be a little bit better like that. So I might even move it down and just put it back here in the corner where I don't see it so much. As long as the bubbles are rising and they're popping at the surface, I've come to find out that that's all I really need to worry about. I don't necessarily have to have it right where the filter intake is, where the water's flowing or anything like that. So as long as I can put it somewhere where I don't notice the bubbles too much, then I'll be happy. So anyway, I got in there, I pulled that fern out, I put that little chunk back in. I now have a huge piece of Java fern. Let me pull this up here without dripping all over everything too much. So I've got all of that Java fern. That came out of that back left corner. And then there was a bunch of other little chunks. This big chunk right there that you can see that will probably drop when I let go of it there. That was the piece I pulled out from where the ram is sitting now. And then all of this stuff is what came out of the back left corner. That is all one big chunk of rhizome. So I will put that up for sale. If somebody wants to buy that all in one piece, I won't break that up for a little while. I'll give someone an opportunity to get that. So check my email down in the comment section below. I've also got the temple plant cuttings from other temple plants. Not this one, but I do have temple plant cuttings. I've got water sprite, and I've got a million little babies of this Windelov that I pulled out of here tonight as well. So lots and lots of Java right now available. So again, if you're interested in any of that, check down below. You'll find my email. Hit me up and we'll talk. So the nitrates are actually not as bad as I thought they were going to be. They are what I would put that as red. I would definitely say that's above the orange. And again, I know it looks worse on camera than it does to me, but that's still, I would definitely still put that in the 40 to 60 range. It's definitely above the 40 parts per million, but it's not that bad. It's not as bad as I was expecting it to be. So perhaps the temple plants beginning to grow again, and that increased growth is maybe pulling some of those nitrates out of the water or something. I don't know, but it was lower than I expected, but still high enough that it was in need of a water change. We're going to call it between 40 and 60, somewhere in there. Again, it's hard to tell with that API test kit exactly what the number is there. So now I'm going to have to fix my airstone again. I'll get to that when the video is done. But the last thing I want to talk about is how much mulm I actually kicked up when I moved all the roots around. Once you really get your eye in, if you see the gravel, like where the light's shining on it down there, and if you look here, look at all that mulm. The white stuff is the eggshells. I did pour the water back in and made sure the eggshells got swooshed all around the tank. But look at all that mulm that's down on the bottom and all that crud and everything. So I will get in here again shortly, maybe in another week, and I'll do another water change with the gravel vac. Now that there's a lot less plant material in there, I can get the gravel vac in there. And I can't do a vigorous gravel vac because of the roots and everything that are down into the gravel. But I can collect up that kind of stuff, and I can get, back into this corner where it all collects. I can sort of knock this stuff out of the way. The mulm and everything collects under that, and the gravel vac will help get some of that out of there too. So that'll be for the next water change. But there you go, everybody. Lots and lots of room for everybody to swim around, and lots of space for the light to shine down in there now. So I like it a lot better, and it's only a matter of time before it gets all lush and green and overgrown again, and we'll start the whole process over. So thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget, this one is my 20-gallon open-topped office tank. Thanks again for watching. I hope to see you real soon in the next one.